Good morning and thanks for coming. It couldn't be prettier. And we've been studying in our Scots ballad class in here with our instruments and through the storm and the wind and all that and loving every minute of it. The instruments weren't so sure, but we made them cooperate. And it was a beautiful scene to have our class. My name is Dawn and I teach composing and songwriting here. Tune writing, if you will. And it's not that I'm teaching you how to write. It's that I'm helping you express yourself your way, your style, your genre, your instrument, no instrument, spoons, bowing, feet, however you want to do it. There's no pressure. I'm going to teach in January, at the end of January. And one of my students is here if you want to ask her anything about the class, Kathy. And I just think maybe people sometimes may feel intimidated or whatever because I sit down and play jigs and reels that I've written on the piano. And that's just because I grew up playing the piano. And that's not what the class is about. If you want your music written down, then we'll do that. If you don't, and some things shouldn't be written down. Anyway, they're just out there. So, last time I did morning song was in the fall, and a lot had happened to me and the rest of the world, and I had just lost my mother, but right before COVID hit, I was able to be with her. It's all worked out beautifully. She'd wait till the last minute on everything and then time it perfectly. So, and I'm really grateful for all that now. And the other thing I'm really grateful for, there he is. This hawk was calling in the mist yesterday morning, and he's out hunting in the mist. He has a really pretty voice. It's a good sign, I think. But anyway, I was really tender when I did that morning song, and I was missing everyone, and there wasn't one face out there. And I was trying to say, I miss you, and reach everybody, and I think I made some people cry. So I'm not going to do that today. We're gonna not do that today, even though my stuff comes out in my music. And that is the coolest thing about writing your own music. You can go to therapists and spend whatever you want, or that's fine, but this does it for me. And so what I end up doing is walking the trails with this new little rescue dog that needs miles before she sleeps, and that's when it starts coming, and it's just coming more prolifically after Mother's gone, because I feel her stronger. I feel her grit, her grace, and all that Scots stuff that the few people in my family pulled off and worked so hard so that I could be where I am today. And I'm an only child. My son's an only. Just all this is kind of by accident, not purposeful. But my grandfather wore the cap and carried a walking stick, and he looked exactly like John Wayne in The Quiet Man. So that was Mother's favorite movie, and we watched it 1,000 times. And it was cheesy, but it had some really good stuff in it. And so I don't wear my piece of tartan as a fashion statement, for sure. But I wear it because my grandfather on the railroad, who thought he was Irish, was told by his father-in-law, Scott, on the railroad, don't tell him you're Irish. I can't get you a job if you do. So he said he was Scots-Irish. He didn't know what he was. He thought he was Irish. Well, it turns out there wasn't an Irish person in the bunch, unless they're not in the blood somewhere, because we're just double Scots with a touch of English, you know. And I wondered why I kept playing like this and gravitating toward that music. And I just do that. And I sat in on the jam last night at the Crown, and it was so much fun to be with friends and play, and I can take my little mandolin that's real quiet and sort of eke out some chords, you know, and figure out kind of where they are. And I always go back to playing like this, though. So, but also in our class, We can play old time, we can play folk, we can do whatever you want to do. I am good with it. I know how to do it. I can help you be yourself in a fun way and collaborate and get with each other. And the fiddler might say, hey, I can't play that, it's too hard, so can you change that note? And you learn to work with other people and have a feel for that. And then we form the Grammy Band, and we raise the roof. So anyway, I'm just going to play like 5 minutes of piano for you. And what these are, everything after I rested and took care of myself, everything really started to come out, and that's after the first of this year. So I don't know these tunes yet very well, so I'm having to look at the music. You'd rather hear them halfway played right than me going, well, how'd that go? And I don't apologize for using music, because sometimes you need it, or I do anyway. But when I sing for you, I'm going to sing without an instrument, because that was my purpose in coming to this class. A lot of the Scottish songs and ballads were done in the dark of the night in hiding. They couldn't make that much noise. And it carried down their stories of their people. So my object was to be confident enough to try that. So that's what I'll do in a minute, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about your class. But the little lead-in that I do, I wrote the day before I left for the folk school. This little thing came in my head. It went, da 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 da. I thought, what is that? I don't know. So I wrote it down, and I thought, well, I'll make a little 8-bar intro to these other things I'm doing. And I didn't give it a title. I didn't know where to go with it. And then our instructor inspired me so much that I wrote him a song while we were here in a couple days. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and put the Scots words to it. And then I got even braver and sang it to him. I just made up this tune kind of off of this, and I think he was touched. And the thing also I want to mention that really touches me is that this keyboard was donated by a woman named Susan, who was here studying in a class a couple weeks ago, because her husband's hands weren't able to play it anymore. And I've had a lot of injuries from horse wrecks. And this is plated and screwed together and here to here, and I keep walking, a lot of walking, and I keep using it. But if I have to go to a different instrument, so be it. And so I've learned several instruments also to help people in my class, that I can understand where they're coming from on their instrument. And just whatever works at the time. You have an instrument for just anything. But I love the piano. But if I write something for the on the piano and run it by my fiddler, he may go, look, I need you to change just that and that. It's easier it lays better on the fiddle. And so there comes the joy of playing with others. So anyway, that's that one. And then Words in the Wind is a jig I'll go into, and I'm only going to play each one time. And it's AAB construction. That's traditional construction. You play the first little 16 bars twice, and then the second 16 bars twice, and that's a full turn on it. And that's how we write in my class, if you write a jig or a reel. Okay? Waltzes can be anything, anyway. And it's called Words in the Wind, because I like to think, as I'm talking to myself, which only children do, and I'm out hiking and writing songs and all this, and the autumn wind's coming, and it's my favorite time of the year, that if I put something out there, hopefully something good will come back to me. And the power of composing it already has, big time. I've found my ancestry by a CD that's in the folk crafts store, Bridge to McGrew's. And it was McGrewer, and it was Scots, 1735. He came in through the south and regenerated the whole area. But he was on the same ship as Oliver Cromwell, and he got out of Culloden with his wife and daughter before that happened. So he had enough money to do that, enough fortitude. And I feel those guys, I really do, and I appreciate it. And they've left me just enough in this little handful of all their hard work on the railroad to build a little cabin over here a mile away down the Blacksmith Road on Mason Road, because I got that from a folk school friend. And Mike and Martha, thank you so much. And I'm going to start breaking ground on that soon, and have all my people's things in there. and play my music in there and share it with other people to stay in. Yeah. So I'm grateful for a great deal, especially this piano. Thank you, Susan. And then
It's actually Kathy, sorry.
Kathy. Oh, gosh. Thank you, Kathy, and her husband. And then after I do Words in the Wind, which is a jig in A minor, I go to the Sleepless Reel in E minor. All you caregivers know what that is for sure. And there can be other reasons that you're laying there and something's niggling at you. Yeah, and you keep trying to bat it down and it's just not working. Well then, I have Fern's Freedom Reel because I adopted a little dog, a little wee Catahoula leopard dog that was at the Humane Society close to here. And they'd had her one day and she'd been through the system, was just scared absolutely to death of everything and everyone, and had never had freedom. And we're on 35 acres back in Forest Service and on the Benton Mackay Trail and all that, and I'm on those trails all the time. And when I let her off, she wouldn't leave my side for the longest, and then her loops got bigger and bigger and bigger, but she was always making loops. And then pretty soon she'd change watersheds, and you'd think she was coming back the same way she left, and then all of a sudden she'd come up behind you and body slam the old dog, and she's like, there she is. Or else, you'd hear this rustling way over here, and the old dog would go, it's a bear. And then she'd come up and go, ah! You know? So I wrote that into her reel, and it's called Fern's Freedom Reel. And this is her dog whistle that she can hear better than my voice, and I'll explain about that when I go to sing. And then the last thing I'm going to play with these is called Worth the Wait. And that's a waltz that I want to pull out the first time we have a waltz in the Keith House again. And so, and then Gerlo, by the way, I miss you playing the fiddle with me on this. We worked on it a lot. And worth the wait. I hope it's going to be, and it's going to happen. It'll come back. So if you're at home and you feel like waltzing around the kitchen, please do. Please do. So I'll sit down and just play these 5 little tunes, and I'd love to just fan them out, but they're wet, and they won't do that, so I'm going to just put them one in front of the other. I have to look at them. I just wrote. Everything was written after the first of the year except for the waltz, and Joel and I worked on that back in the winter. Okay, so this is, I don't know how my, can everybody hear that volume all right? Okay, this is the little thing, the little piece that just came in my head suddenly, and I just made an intro out of it, and a song for the instructor. And it's how simple it can start out. Jig, Words in the Wind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sleepless Reel in E minor, and I'm not playing these dance speed. My hands won't work this morning very well. They're sticky. My hands are sticky. And the C chord, when I hit it, is when she's going, "Pah!" And the big dog goes, "Oh!" She body slammed me again. Like to waltz here, please do. Worth the wait. Imagine the person you most want to waltz with in the whole world, and suddenly they're there in the doorway, and they throw off their mask and take you in their arms. Here it goes. And it starts out kind of tentatively. Then you take off your mask. And then you start to get a little more movement to it and a lot more feeling. Thank you. Alright, so the power buttons. There? Yep. Okay. And where are we on time? 15 minutes?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay then. Regroup. I do talk too long. So since I write my songs out on the trail, this is my walking stick, and it's alder, and it has beaver teeth in it. And I don't know if you can see that in the sunlight, but it looks like it's been purposely textured with this little pattern. And they just chewed it and debarked it all the way down. And it's just, I like, you know, and it's long enough. My grandfather, I have his shillelagh, it's thick and it's curvy, and you kind of walked with it down here, but you can't reach bears, you know, if they come around the trail and you whack one in the nose. Or what I really do with it is knock out the spider webs. Because even if you wear a hat, some of them get in your mouth as you're going down the trail. I got my little fern dog, and she's running out there, and this is her whistle. And I was going to show you this because it's made out of deer antler, the tip of a deer antler, and my grandfather had one for his dogs. So he was into dogs and horses and a quiet man. And it sounds they can hear it just really, really well, and she'll turn on a dime and come back to me from a mile out. And on here also is a little silver hemlock cone, because I composed for Save George's Hemlocks. And so I wear that to save the species from the woolly adelgid. Yeah. And then this is a little earring that my friend Melanie Miller made with a fern on it. And so there we are on that. And I got my stick, and then I'd stand there and wait for Fern to come back. And I'd whistle every few minutes. And meanwhile, I'm writing a tune, because what else are you going to do? And my stuff needed to come out. And actually, I wrote a song for Mother before she passed so that I could wail on it after she was gone, and I did that too. A lot. It was there for me, and this will always be there for you, your music. So the first one I'm going to do is about the reopening of the folk school, even if it's a soft opening. And when I wrote it, I didn't know we were going to go into this slump again, but that's all right. It'll all work out again, so I'm going to sing it for you. And your part is "We Know the Way," and it comes in after I go, "Hey," and you go, "We know the way." Do that. We know the way. That's all you got to do. So here we go. Am I standing okay? Meet me where the river reflects a fine sky, and the trees frame the memories we know, and the ways of a simpler time still apply, and a song plows the garden we grow, and that's too low. We know the way. Yeah, that's where I need to be. Meet me where the river reflects a fine sky, and the trees frame the memories we know, where the ways of a simpler time still apply, and a song plows the garden we grow. You know the place, we know the way. I know the time is right to invite a new day. Hey, we know the way. Meet me where the laughter rolls over the hills, and the music is not far behind, where the arts and traditions by nature instill in our lives to be grateful and kind. You know the place, we know the way. I know the time is right to invite a new day. Hey, we know the way. Meet me when the seasons have circled around, and the birds have returned to the glen, when the end of the reasons for running aground means we flow through the front door again. You know the place, we know the way. I know the time is right to invite a new day. Hey, we know the way. Oh, that was nice. Thank you. You did good, and when you start figuring out words, just sing all of it. The next one is called Home. I've experienced a feeling of homelessness, not really the condition, but home is not necessarily a place. And my mother would say, I just wish I could go home. And I'd say, okay, Mother, we'll pack us up and we'll go there. And she said, it's not, you'll understand someday. And I do now. You can't fix that right away. But on her gravestone on the backside of Daddy's at the Veterans Cemetery, I wrote home. And also, my son was just in a really terrible accident, going at a high speed, and a woman pulled out in front of him at a yield, and they were both total. Well, he spun off and flipped into the ditch, and she had to be cut out of her car, and he walked away because he had a more modern truck with airbags, and he knew one of the girls in the ambulance, and she took real good care of him, and the next day when he got out of the hospital evening, and we were sitting there together, and he just went, and I went, and we didn't say a whole lot, but it reminded me exactly of my grandfather sitting with him in the Jeep, and he'd go, and I'd go, and we didn't say a whole lot, and so he's reminding me a whole lot of him, and he's in this song, my folks are in this song, and Fern's in this song, so here we go. It's my stuff, nobody will ever sing it, it won't mean a thing to them, but I'm sharing it. You get it, like it or not. So here's home. On the trails less traveled where the soft ferns grow, a shy pup's found a freedom never known, and a bond so strong she'll never feel alone. For her that makes a home. Home is not a place always, but can be a space where comfort stays and holds for you a warm embrace. I pray we all find home. I pray we all find home. There's a mother ever thinking of her child, the grown part tender and the young part wild. In her heart his place can never be defiled. He knows her heart's a home. Home is not a place always, but can be a space where comfort stays and holds for you a warm embrace. I pray we all find home. I pray we all find home. There's a white stone standing on a hallowed hill, a warrior and his love seem gone and still, but the love yet lingers, and it always will for those who value home. Home is not a place always, but can be a space where comfort stays and holds for you a warm embrace. I pray we all find home. I pray we all find home. And you said you weren't going to cry, and I said I wasn't. But it's a different kind now. We're feeling better. We're walking miles and miles with Fern. We're getting this done. So I'm going to get my bowing now, and I'm a beginner at it. This is the last lesson. And I'm taking a bowing class in December, an intermediate class, with my son in blacksmithing. He finally has time to get in blacksmithing. And so anyhow, when I got this one, it's deep, and it'll boom if I'm in a great big crowd. But the rule of these things is quiet is key. You don't want to put a mic on this for sure. It came with 8 free lessons from the Irish guy who said, okay, I'm going to speak in English for you. And no. You kind of watched his hands, and he was wailing on it because he was really good. All I'm doing is giving myself a little rhythm. And we were hoping that T. Claw's daughter could come and do a little jig with us, but she was tired from their night out and all, so she's asleep. So the object is put your hand behind it and change the tones. See, it'll boom a lot more than this. It's gotten wet, so it's perfect because it booms crazy. And this is its debut. This is one you can't destroy. So I'll get in the zone for a second and do this little jig. Now your part is diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di. You flip the D's and the dies. So try that. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. That's it. And one time there's a they go through the seasons. You'll figure it out. So here we go. Let's see now. Jig rhythm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is called Bear and the Berries, because in the Tetons when I lived in Wyoming, I'd take my horse up there and we'd ride around and listen to the elk bugle, and suddenly you'd see bears. And they'd just be munching on the berries. And I got some photos of bears with their lips curled around berries, and they could care less about us. It was great. And then I camped in Glacier Park. There's things that kids do with my friend in this little wee tent, canvas tent. And the ranger came up and said, "You're right in the middle of the berries, and there's grizzlies here, and you may want to move." All right, here we go. Bear in the berries and frost on the vines, cold wind that carries a voice through the pines. I watch for changes, for signals and signs as I go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. Then you can do this until you think how the next verse goes. All right, give me another second. Words, thoughts, and actions don't always align. Folks choose their factions and truth falls behind, leaving our children so much to define as they go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as they go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as they go on through the seasons. I know some ways to find peace and delight, sing through the days and dream music at night. Keep to the creatures in coves where they hide as I go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. Diddly-um-di-dee, diddly-um-dee-di, as I go on through the seasons. Have a great day. And thank you to the folk school, and remember that the donations are what's keeping it going. Thanks, and thanks, T. Claw.